Happy Wednesday, I'm Albanie Knight. Today's weather is 92 degrees with a 30% chance of rain. So what happens if the weather is not looking so great at school? Miriam has more.
Severe weather is a very common occurrence here in Tupelo, and we all face the effects of it. Due to Mississippi's severe weather season being longer than most other states, Mississippi schools are always under the threat of cancellation due to severe weather. Charles Laney is the Director of Operations and Security for TPSD and informs us of the district's process of deciding on a 60% day or canceling school as a whole.
There's actually a lot that goes into that. We have a team at the central office. We also communicate with principals. We go through a process about 2 to 3 days of monitoring the weather prior to a storm coming in. We look at what activities are going on, who's going to be traveling there, so athletic directors involved there. Also talk with NOAA, Weather Service, and WTVA, Matt. We rely heavily on his input and information there. So we kind of gather all that information there and look at the time frame on when the storm's coming in, you know, what's going on that day, what activities there.
Chief Meteorologist at WTVA, Matt Laubon, helps us learn more about his role in keeping TPSD updated during severe weather threats. Mr. Laubon communicates with district representatives to give them information about serious weather before it occurs. He then also explains to us a main factor in keeping TPSD students and staff safe.
So the number one thing is just to feed them the information that is that they're looking for, whether it is timing on what's expected, what is expected, whether or not we still expect that you could have, you know, buses on the roads. And that's one of the, I think, critical factors here are the buses on the roads. How long does it take for those buses to complete their trip? Because if there's even one bus that's still out when severe weather is hitting, they're going to want to try to either move up dismissal or at least change that dismissal time in order to make sure that the buses aren't on the road then.
Mr. Laney says one of the hardest decisions they have to make is whether or not to call off school.
Part of our job and part of our responsibility, you know, is to look at the information we have on hand. And as I said before, the safety of staff and students is the top priority. Our main goal is we always want students in classrooms to meet their seat time, and the thing we don't want to do is have an early release date and then have to have a makeup day, you know, when no severe weather happens. But it's still a tough call when you have to make that, when you've got so many students and staff and so many school locations that we have, getting everybody home safely.
It is such a big relief to know that these professionals are keeping us updated and protected during our seasons of severe weather. So keep an eye out for alerts and stay safe. I'm Miriam, WTHS News.
Thanks, Miriam. Teachers have put a ton of effort into making sure the students get their education in the best success possible. But what is the process of becoming a teacher? I've learned a lot. While the teacher process is different for every teacher, Mr. Rudez, a math teacher at Tupelo High School, highlights what inspired him to become a teacher.
So when I was in high school, the teacher that I looked up to the most was my 11th high school teacher. She taught me geometry and algebra 2. And so I always looked up to her because she was always hard on us.
Mr. Rudez shares the hardest thing he had to overcome in becoming a teacher.
Working out math problems that take 30 minutes to an hour, that's hard work. So that was the hardest thing to overcome, was putting a lot of time and effort into working out problems outside of school.
Although teaching comes with challenges, there are also great advantages that come with it.
Favorite thing about teaching is probably, I would say, the satisfaction that I get from a student telling me, hey, I got it.
Mrs. Walker, a 9th grade art teacher at Tupelo High School, said teaching is not originally what she wanted to do.
Teaching was not what I wanted to do at all. I actually wanted to do anything but teaching because my mother was an art teacher.
Overcoming challenges are different for every teacher.
For me, I think it's just adjusting to everybody's personalities and trying to be everything that everybody needs.
Deciding that teaching is actually what she wanted to do, she expresses her love for learning.
Well, I love learning, so I like sharing what I learn. I get really excited about it some days, and everybody doesn't always share my excitement, but when they do, it just makes me even that much more excited.
A graduation coach for Tupelo High School, Mr. Wallace used to work with young people. He always was motivated by his mother to go into education.
I used to work with the young people around the church and the youth ministry like that, and so she just made the suggestion, why don't I go into education? And so at first I was like reluctant to doing it, but 10 years later, here I am.
Mr. Wallace said he had to subdue the balance of different learner needs in becoming a teacher.
So you have students that have different needs, and so I think being able to overcome that, because every student, they don't learn the same.
Benefits of teaching are truly endless for this graduation coach.
I think one of my favorite things is being able to see growth, which leads to success and will lead to graduation.
Even though there are many things that come with the teacher process, these teachers have truly been influenced by others around them. I'm Albanie Knight, and this is WTHS News. Make sure to tune in for tomorrow's episode. I'm Albanie Knight, and this is WTHS News.